Mizmor leDavid, Adonai roi lo echsar, bino deshe yarbitzeni al mei menuchot, yenahaleni nafshi yeshovei, yancheni v'maglei tzedek leman shemo. Gam ki elech begetz ha'mavet lo irara ki ata imadi. Shivtecha u'mishantecha hema yenachamuni. Taroch levanai shulchan neged sorerai. Dishantav Hashem en roshi, kosi rivaya. Ach tov v'chesed yirdefuni kol yemei chayai, v'shavti Beveit Adonai leorech yamim. A Psalm of David. Adonai, God is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures, leads me beside the still waters, and restores my soul. Guides me on the right path, for that is God's nature. Though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no harm, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a banquet for me in the presence of my foes. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and loving kindness shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of God forever. We begin this service today, as we begin most Jewish funerals, but especially today, with a psalm linking Lou's life with thousands of years of Jewish tradition and with the eternity of God and the people of Israel. But also because the first thing that really should be done at a funeral for Lou Bernstein is to sing. Because anytime you ever saw him, he was singing. And we'll talk more about that later. But for now, thank you, all of you, for coming this morning. As we come here today to pay our respects to quite simply a wonderful, remarkable man. A husband, a father, a Zeta, a great Zeta, a grocer, an insurance salesman, a storyteller, a singer, a jokester, a character, a great man, Lou Bernstein. Maybe you knew him as Louis, or Zeta Lou, or Laser. In Hebrew, his name was Eliezer ben Yitzchak v'Rivka. Eliezer, son of Yitzchak and Rivka. Eliezer, a name which means God aids. God helps. We come here today to honor Lou, to accompany him to his final resting place. We come here today to say goodbye. But how do you say goodbye to someone who was so full of life, who breathed so much life into everything he did, into every interaction with everyone he met, that you honestly thought he would never die? He could never die. How do you say goodbye to someone who, though his health had deteriorated, and whom we all know deserved far better than sickness or suffering, you still just can't bear to see go? How do you say goodbye to a hero, a legend, across many generations? The truth is, young or old, those who leave this world always leave us too soon. We always wish we had just a little more time. One more chat, one more story, one more joke, one more song, belted out as only Lou could. One more beaming ear-to-ear smile. One more kiss on the cheek, or maybe if you were lucky, on the lips. One more precious moment just to soak up his presence and everything he exuded. Charisma, confidence, passion, fun, love. It's sad those days are gone. That chapter is closed. It's sad the world will no longer have Lou Bernstein in it. But how much better off is the world, and especially our corner here in Winnipeg? How much better off are we, our world, for having had Lou Bernstein in it in the first place, and for as long as we did? You will hear some stories today, some you know, some you don't know. But they all attest Lou's impact, his legacy, is truly immeasurable and will not be forgotten. Lou passed away on the 18th of March, 2019, a month shy of his 93rd birthday. He will be dearly missed by his wife of 71 years, Clara, by his children, Barbara and her husband David, Roz and her husband Marty, Kevin and his wife Farron, and Chuch and his wife Ev, by his grandchildren, Eli and Jennifer, Sari and Daniel, Benji and Ranit, Josh and Jody, Jay and Ashley, Amy and Daniel, Kylie and Tyler, Braden, Griffin, Matthew, and Lexi and Cole. And by his great-grandchildren, Lucas, Molly, Nate, Asher, Reed, Jackson, Cal, Jaime, Herschel, Zev, and Haley. He was predeceased by his parents, Isaac and Eva Bernstein, and by his three sisters, Betty Shapiro, Ann Banks, and Thelma Toots Plotka. Lou was born April 16, 1926, in Moldova, immigrating to Canada with his parents and older sister Betty when he was just 6 months old. He was a product of the North End, McRae School, St. John's Tech, a terrific athlete, a legend on the football field. They were still writing about his St. John's Tigers and their upset of the Kelvin Clippers in 1942, 68 years later, as Lou and teammates were inducted into the Winnipeg High School Football League Hall of Fame. He was a devoted son who worked tirelessly for his father, Isaac, who ran a grocery store on Salter and Mountain, making deliveries, helping in the store. Something Lou never regretted and always said he would do over again if given the chance. A legend in his family. But his legendary status didn't stop there. Among Jewish kids in the community, he was looked up to. Big, tall, handsome. Then at Winnipeg Beach, where his dad ran a store for a few summers, he was their hero, standing up for them in the face of anti-Semitism. I never hit anybody, Lou would say, but when you're over 6 feet tall and you need to send a message, picking a few punks up by their collars, slamming them up against a wall, and saying that if you mess with these boys, you'll mess with me, got the message across. He and Clara were a couple of legendary status, an epic love story. Sometimes you talk about high school sweethearts. I don't know what you talk about when two people know each other from when they're 11 years old. In fact, it seems that they were the same age, though Clara was about a month older, and Lou, later on in life, would say that this was all part of his plan. He wanted to date and marry an older woman so her pension would kick in first. They knew each other from when they were 11. They really spent their whole lives together. In fact, when he was 13 or 14, making deliveries on his bike for his dad's store, he would always come by the gun house where Clara lived to see her. Clara will tell you, he spent more time in that house than he did at his own house. Clara had to tell him what was happening with his sisters and with his parents. They went on their first date when they were 16 years old, a night in June. Clara had to buy high heels just to be somewhat tall enough in order to go out with him. They took a streetcar to a show, a movie, the Gaiety, across from the Hudson's Bay. A double feature. Then they went out after for a banana split. Lou suggested they walk home. Clara said yes, and then regretted it almost immediately because of the heels. When they finally did make it back to the North End, they sat outside talking until 4 in the morning. They were married March 3rd, 1948, the Hebrew Sick Hall on Selkirk. They started off in an apartment and then eventually ended up at the house on Burn Avenue. 3 kids in quick succession, and then Chuch a little later on. Enough said. When Clara got pregnant with what turned out to be Chuch, Lou's response was, "It's just another pair of shoes." There is one thing we should mention. After grade 11 in those days, you could choose to go to grade 12 or go on to university. Clara actually chose to go on to university. And this is what she told me. She wanted a little bit of a break. She wanted to date other guys. The only problem was she would go on these dates, and there would be Lou waiting at the corner when she got back. Were they soulmates? Was he just persistent? In the end, 71 years of marriage, 4 kids, all the grandkids, grandkids-in-law, great-grandkids. Lou always would tell you he was enormously wealthy. The truth is, I don't know. I don't get the sense that maybe he was from a material standpoint, but that's not how he measured his wealth. He measured his wealth in his family, in what he created, what he and Clara created, and what he leaves behind. This is just the beginning. There are so many more stories. 8 years running a grocery store on the corner of Mulvey and Daly while they lived north. Long days for 8 years, taking a streetcar to work. 8:30 a.m., not coming back till 10 p.m., except for Wednesdays, when he had Wednesday afternoons off so he could go take singing lessons with Sarah Udo. He was recruited for the insurance business one day when he was in the store. Problem was he was always singing. And the guy, Norm MacPhail, who came to recruit him for London life, had to wait till Lou would stop singing so he could approach him and offer him a job. He did. The rest is history. 40 years as a terrific insurance salesman. He dabbled for a bit as a manager, though that didn't work because Lou just couldn't fire anybody. He just wanted to meet people. Not sell them the insurance that was good for him, but sell them the insurance that was good for them. He was so loved by so many people. Jewish and not Jewish, from the North End, from Transcona, from Riverview, Fort Rouge, all over. Lou Bernstein was a legendary man of the people. And for someone well into his 90s, for so many people to be here today, is a testament to that for sure. I'm lucky to say that I knew Lou. He once surprised me by kissing me on the cheek without warning me. We got past it. But now we're fortunate to hear from people who really knew him very well. First, it's my honor to call up his kids. Chuch will be speaking on behalf of the children, along with Kevin, Roz, and Barbara.
Thank you all for being here. I see many people that Lou loved and who loved him. And my siblings are going to make sure I get through this. I should say that many of us, all of us, have received some extraordinary messages of love and endearment about our father. And most ended with a reminder of how he made them, if not smile, outright laugh. Loif, Luya, Loif. Run, Lou, run. Those are the words of his father chasing Lou down the sidelines during one of his explosive St. John's Highs runs. That was a true story. The stories of his legendary exploits on the football field would be retold to especially Kevin and I by whoever we met who was within 10 years of his age. There was a similar father-son exchange when I was 9 years old and I was playing soccer in Margaret Park, when he chased me on the sidelines calling me darling. And having Vince Lee, a well-known sports reporter who had followed Lou's career in high school and university, also on the sidelines asking Lou, who is darling playing soccer? Because Lou, who was a big macho athlete, was never too macho to express his affection for his family of any age, at any time, and any place. He was a star football player, and it was a prideful moment for him to be inducted into the Winnipeg High School Hall of Fame some years ago. He was offered a scholarship to the University of Miami while simultaneously spending most of his waking hours working in his father's grocery stores, either in the North End or at Winnipeg Beach. It seemed to irk my mother that he toiled relentlessly and without pay for his father, but never did I hear anything negative from Lou about this. It was a work of joy, and it was in his soul. He was a grocer, although he was an insurance man for 40 years. The slicer in our basement was a testament to his being a grocer all of his life. In fact, he taught, I think, all of us how to grocery shop, including his daughters-in-law. He married our mother at barely 22 and started his own grocery store on Mulvey Avenue, and subsequently sold life insurance at London Life for many years. It was through this latter job that he had the key, illegally, to every apartment block in Fort Rouge, so he could call on prospective clients, which is the way life insurance was sold in those days. After conquering the North End and befriending literally everyone, he then became the king of Crescentwood and Fort Rouge. 71 years of an extraordinary marriage, a marriage that is a role model for us all, has taught us how to be married, how to love a spouse and support a spouse. It's extraordinary. 4 children-in-law, 11 grandchildren, 8 grandchildren-in-law, and 11 great-grandchildren, and the many nieces and nephews and extended cousins were his greatest joy. I see many of them here. Carpe diem was Lou's modus operandi. Not to seize the day to accomplish some new feat, but to seize the day to have fun. His days were full of laughter and singing. It is what he is known for. It is an extraordinary legacy. Lou made me laugh my whole life. His quips and sharp wit, occasionally crossing a line. He worked hard through the formative years of his 3 oldest, but less time demands during my time of playing sports and doing stuff, picking me up at airports at 3 a.m., picking his grandchildren up from anywhere at any time. He undoubtedly taught us how to parent in an extraordinary way, and how to grandparent, and how to befriend our extended family, which is our children's friends, our grandchildren's friends, the people around us. It is an extraordinary life lesson. Those grandchildren, I still laugh. I lie in bed at night and laugh. I lie in bed and laugh and think about so many unbelievable things that he said. We were laughing yesterday in Rabbi Matthew's study, recounting just a smidgen of them. I still laugh when I think of Matthew and Braden playing 12-year-old basketball at a small gym, and of all places, I see a young man smiling who remembers it in the 3rd row as well, at St. John's High of all places. A place of a great accomplishment for Lou, but there he was at home in a small gym. Our boys were up 1 point, and on the last play of the game, the opposition was at the foul line. Small gym. He's sitting right on the sideline. Just as the poor kid on the other team goes to toss his shot, you can hear a pin drop until Zeta Lou clears his throat very loudly. The kid throws the ball into the stands and his grandsons win. I think about that moment so often because only he would do that. Lou was a Renaissance man. Starting his marriage in 1948, he did all the grocery shopping, much house cleaning, and a fair bit of especially short-order cooking. Seeing Lou in an apron in those days was commonplace. Seeing him in his boxer shorts was much more common. Lou made the boxer short from underwear to outerwear long before Madonna. Not always with the vent closed. Hearing him singing up and down Burn Avenue, strolling a child, was even more common. Lou left us with extraordinary life lessons, complete and utter adoration for his spouse, an ability to love boundlessly. That's extraordinary. That is family, friends, neighbors, workmates, strangers, and a zest for having fun every day. Every day was about having fun. I was away this week, which was painful for me, but my siblings tell me that on Sunday, the day before he died, at the Health Science Center, he was singing to the nurses. It was typical. Even in his difficult days of the past few years, he would sneak in a day of song. And if we all stop and listen right now, we can hear him singing.
Thanks, Church. Now it's my honor to call up Jay, along with any other grandkids who wish to accompany him.
I love you, Louis, were the words echoed by my cousins and I each time our Zeta would drive us anywhere, because he would say, as soon as we'd say that, the interior light of the car would magically turn on. Dumbfounded by this trick at 5 years old, it would also generate a sense of laughter and excitement. Laughter and excitement, when in his presence, were feelings shared by anyone who was fortunate to spend even 5 minutes with our Zeta, as his heart matched that of a thoroughbred. After Secretariat died, an autopsy revealed that his heart was larger than those other horses. Doctors were fascinated by this finding, and many hypothesized that the horse was born with this vital organ enlarged and had simply gone on to fulfill his natural promise. Others swore that the horse's will and determination to compete had strengthened his heart muscles to the point of enlargement. In the final analysis, though, does it matter whether the champion was born with a large heart or grew to live his destiny? Similarly, our Zeta Louis lived every single day with his heart on his sleeve, and a heart so big that to each of us, he was truly larger than life. He never wanted to be the life of the party. He wanted every party to have life. He had the ability to light up the faces of the people he talked to, and he talked to a lot of people all the time. I am certain he invented the Walmart greeter position before it was even a position. He welcomed his grandchildren, and that included our friends who may or may not have had their own grandparents, into his heart and his home at any moment of the day. Of course, his welcoming attire was his traditional black socks, white boxer shorts, and that is still a tradition carried on today by even his great-grandchildren. In his home, he told us about tradition, what it means, what family means, and what life can be all about. He was a walking and talking version of Fiddler on the Roof, among many other solo performances of various Broadway shows he would belt out in the kitchen while doing the dishes. After providing us freshly cut meat from his slicer, he would then give us a freezer full of ice cream sandwiches and special recipes of root beer floats, and he somehow had a truckload of fun-sized candy bars in his pantry, but only after November 1st. There is no chance our Zeta would be paying full price for chocolate bars, or anything for that matter, a tradition we continue to follow today. He repeatedly showed us how far a dollar could be stretched. He would often share stories with us about what it was like working for his father at Grove Grocery during those summers. And let me tell you, going grocery shopping with our Zeta was an experience. Nothing in your cart was full price. Try all the grapes before you buy them. Make sure you're whistling the whole time. Bring more coupons than anyone. And make sure you talk to every single customer and clerk before you get back into your car. He may have never remembered any of their names, but he made them feel like he did. He truly lived Mother Teresa's words, let no one ever come to you without leaving better and happier. He was a true man of the people. At a time, he stood over 6 feet tall, 200 plus pounds. He was a character that every single one of our friends knew, and he made sure they knew him. He would come bellowing down the halls of our elementary schools, looking to see what kind of trouble he could cause, kissing, hugging each person when he would take us out for lunch. The kisses, of course, would be wet and slobbery and may or may not have had trails of breakfast in the mustache. He would then take it a step further and make sure our friends, our teachers, and the principal were also invited for lunch. I'm sure he would have invited the custodial staff if there was room in the car, because he would ensure that we knew everyone was important, regardless of their role. He would often share stories with us from his early insurance days of working in Riverview and the Osborne area. He would detail how he would want to make sure he knew the people and their lives who he was selling insurance to. And as much as you may think he would exaggerate these stories, the most baffling part was meeting some of these people years later, and they would share the same stories. With each of these stories that really seemed like comic book adventures, he reinforced the importance of both hard work and heart work through his honesty, effort, and true genuineness as he connected with so many people. He remained humble, yet always hungry for success. His continuous message of hard work clearly resonated with each of his grandchildren you see behind me, as we all aim to reach his same level of success that he passed down to us. Despite his own success, though, he was always very proud of each of us for all of our accomplishments. I vividly recall one of the few times he cried was when he learned of my graduation from the University of Iowa, or how proud he was of each of his grandchildren who chose and were able to pursue further education. And he made sure to share that sense of pride with each person at the YMHA, at the Radio Center, at Superstore, really anyone he could talk to. He often shared that if he had the chance, he would have pursued more education, but he wanted to have a family. Our Zeta was a man who declined a football scholarship to the University of Miami for his family. He often shared that he chose not to go to Miami because his father broke his leg that summer, and he wanted to be with his beloved Chaika, our Baba Clara. Years later, as recently as 2017, we were sitting at a Pesach Seder, and he shared with a few of us, "So I didn't play football in Miami. But look in front of you. I have 4 beautiful children, their loving spouses, more grandchildren and great-grandchildren than I even know what to do with, and a wife that I've been able to create all of this with. I would say that's a bigger win than anything I would have ever achieved on the football field." It was a message he reiterated over and over throughout our lives. Accomplishments and opportunities are important, but it is important that your dreams include other people, especially your family. It was his family and the Jewish traditions that he often placed the highest value on, whether it was him getting on his knees and dancing like a dreidel at Hanukkah, making sure when he said the blessings on the wine and challah at our Friday night dinners prior to our bar and bat mitzvahs, that he was loud enough to ensure everyone in the room knew how important it was, or the frequency to which he used Yiddish phrases at different stages of our lives. Naturally, many of these phrases had some type of inappropriate innuendo attached to them, but above all, that's because our Zeta was a jokester. Our Zeta was quick-witted, funny, and a ball of laughter. All of our friends knew him as the funny man, as the guy who never ran out of material, regardless of how many times you might hear certain jokes. As the guy who made everyone laugh, the guy who would pull up to our houses and our schools, honking his horn numerous times with a variety of dents and scratches all over the car that resembled something like that of a clown car. You knew you were in for a laugh and a fun time when you saw that car pull up. It is only fitting that as we celebrate Purim, we celebrate and honor the life of a man who found comedic value in all situations. Through his comedy, his comic book adventures with insurance sales, and his reflections of football adventures, the one thing that stands out is his undying love for his beloved Clara. For 71 years, he was able to truly define what it means to be there for and with your partner through sickness and in health, and ensure that She had the easiest life she could. We were able to witness firsthand how a man could be so committed to his wife and would literally drive to the end of the earth for her, as he often did. He would go from Gunn's Bakery to City Rye to Superstore and back to pick up 1 item, 2 items, and whatever she needed, and still be on time to pick her up from the salon or from Eaton's when she was ready, so they could make it in time to see one of their grandchildren perform in a 15-minute holiday-themed concert at a school. He did not do this because he had to. He did this because he wanted to. He naturally and effortlessly did this because he wanted what was best for his beloved Chaika. Although he was constantly making jokes, he did everything for his wife with intention. He often reminded us of how important partnership is. He really took the words of their ketubah seriously. When people have asked, are you guys not sad that your children will not get to experience all that you and your cousins were able to experience with Zayda Louie? In reality, they will, just differently, as part of him lives in all of us. I noticed this as I watched our Zayda hold my firstborn son, Jaime, and sing to him. Only days later to see the same patience and gentle, deep voice from Eli to do the same. His singing voice continues to live on in Braden and Sari. His love for theater, and especially the Yiddish shtick, defined Amy's youth in musical theater and aspects of her current professional life. His love for insurance and business continues to resonate with Josh and Lexi. His hard work and heart work is exposed daily through Benji and Kylie with their patience and commitment to the best care possible. His brute strength, determination, and pristine spy role that Griffin has. And his desire to help people feel better about how they feel in their lives with both Matthew and myself. He exuded affection with each of us, which was highlighted actually at Matthew's bar mitzvah on this very stage, as each cousin had a different honor that led to a parade of kisses after each prayer, leading Rabbi Green to say at one point, I have never seen so many cousins kiss and hug each other so much. The affection is incredible. The roots of that affection started with our Zayda Louie, and it is evident in this moment. Although he truly loved soccer, it was very clear that football was a huge part of our Zayda's life. Despite having long retired from the game, I would engage in weekly conversations that started with, Jayla, who's our boy Tom playing today? And as his health deteriorated, he was not able to see some of the final few games we watched together. But it was clear that his mental state was very much intact, and his wit remained to the very end. He was very aware of everything that was happening on the field in his life and in the lives of his family members, right there with him as each play unfolded in the remaining weeks of his life. It is fitting that there are actually 11 of us standing here today, mirroring that of the starting lineup of his favorite sports. He continued to fight until the end. He was resilient with each medical challenge that came his way, remained just as witty as he was, and was serenading the nurse in his final hours with Broadway show tunes. And when he was ready, he requested his wife lay beside him. He knew for certain his legacy would live on in all of his children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and likely each person in this room in different ways. So as we celebrate his life, one thing that will remain certain is that Zayda Louie, you convinced us all that life is a team sport. So on behalf of your grandchildren, I love you, Louie. You can rest assured that the light in our hearts will always be on for you. Zeigazint to you, our Zayda Louie.
tremendous speeches. Thank you to Jay. Thank you again to Chuch, and for everyone for being up here together. So how do you say goodbye? You cry. You laugh. You say thank you. Thank you, Lou, for teaching us that though people may count the days of their lives, a person of wisdom truly makes every day count. I once asked Lou how he knew all of these songs that I'd always hear him singing. He was always singing a different song, and just a little moment would inspire him, and he'd go off and sing another song. And he told me he actually doesn't know any full songs. He knows the first line to every single song. Now, I don't know if he knows this one, but it's a song that only has one line, and it's from the Beatles. And after everything we've heard today, I could not think of anything more appropriate. And in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make. I wouldn't try to sing it because Lou would probably do it better. And of all the things we take away from Lou's life and from today, I think that really does sum it up. He is a legend and a lesson in humanity. Please rise for the Al Malei Rachamim. El Malei Rachamim shochein bamromim Ametzei menucha nechona tachat kanfei ha-shechina b'malo kedoshim u'teorim Kezohar Arakia Mazhirim Et Nishmat Eliezer Ben Yitzchak Verivka Shalach Leolamo Began Eden te menuchato Anabal harachamim Hastireu beseter kenafecha leolamim Utzeror Bitzeror achaim et nishmato Adonai hu nachalato V'yanuach v'shalom hamishkavo v'nomar Amen. Exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure to the soul of Lou Bernstein, Eliezer, son of Yitzchak and Rivka, who has gone to his eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May his soul be bound up in the bond of life. May he rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. Please be seated. Our service will continue with a trip to Sherazedek Cemetery for interment. The cemetery is located at 230 Armstrong Avenue. Everyone is encouraged to join us for this trip. to accompany Lou to his final resting place. We'll be driving in caravan fashion with our four-way flashers on, though we will stop for all red lights. And the route we take is up Sherbrooke to Logan, right on Logan to Salter, over the bridge, up Salter all the way to Armstrong. After our visit at the cemetery, we will return here to Shered Zedek for a meal of consolation as our thoughts turn from honoring Lou and to comforting his family, who are now having entered into a state of grieving and mourning, so that we may join our hearts together with theirs. If you choose to wait here at the synagogue for us to return, please keep in mind it usually takes about an hour and a half from when we leave to when we get back. Keeping with the theme of comforting, Lou's family will be sitting Shiva at Roz and Marty's home, 788 Montrose Street, with visitations tonight from 7:30 to 9:30, Saturday night from 7:30 to 9:30, and Sunday in the afternoon from 1 to 3, and in the evening from 7:30 to 9:30. There will be prayers each of the 3 evenings at 7:30. We would also thank all of you again for coming and ask that as we conclude the ceremony here, you help us to observe a long-standing custom at Shered Zedek. When you exit the sanctuary, form 2 rows through the foyer and onto the steps leading outside, 2 rows of family and community through which the casket may pass. The last thing we say is to the family. Hamakom yinachem etchem betoch sha'ar avelei Tzion v'Yerushalayim. May you be comforted and consoled. May God comfort and console you among all those who mourn and who have ever mourned in our community. Family members and pallbearers, you may leave by way of the chapel. Everyone else, please wait until we open up the doors at the back of the sanctuary. And thank you again, everyone, for coming.